Hello and welcome to our new Blender Beam course. I hope everyone is doing great, and I hope everyone is ready for so we'll be learning how Bonsai Beam works and what we can do with it, and also explore some of the other things we can do with Bonsai Beam. So at first, before we get deeper into Bonsai Beam, we want to first understand the layout of Blender, or what we mainly do with Blender. So this is the interface of Blender when you first open Blender. Here at the top you can see you have we could call it a spacebar for displaying the different options you could do. For example, file, we can see that. Then you have the main viewport. This is where you get all the objects you're modeling, or this is your modeling space. Then down here you have the timeline. This is mainly used for those who are doing animations, and it comes in handy. On the right side, on the top right side, you have the outliner, which displays whatever you have in your scene. And then here you have the property section, which you can modify the objects in a viewport, or even view the properties of the objects in a viewport. So also we can modify these sections. You can see here on the properties section. Then we can just choose anything, and then we have these objects in our viewports, and then we'll learn about a very few things on what we can do with it. First, you can see when I want to select object, I can either drag my mouse over all the objects, or I can just press Ctrl. It's not Ctrl A, it's A. Sorry for that mistake. And then I can just press delete. So for example, let's say I want to add a very simple object. First, I have to go on top view, and on top view it's numpad 7, and then you can see I'm on the top view. For example, let's say I want to add a plane. It's just Shift A, plane. So also when I add a plane, notice on an object we have two modes for the object. Have the object mode. Right now I can't do a lot of stuff PSD, so I have the object mode, and then I can go to the edit mode, and then you can see now I can select individual parts, and then I can move. Okay, so when you want to move an object, you use G for grab, and then you can move it anywhere. So what if you want to snap it into either the X direction or the Y direction? What do? You grab, and then you can press X, and then you can see now I can't move anywhere else. Also the same with Y. Also, what if I want to make the object to be larger? So I just select the object by pressing it, right-clicking it, then press S, and then you can scale. Okay, alternatively you can press N to bring this to a section, and then you can go to item, and then you see the dimension. So I can maybe, let's say, put this to be 3. Let's maybe put this to be 5 meters, and then you can see I can change the dimensions in a parametric way. Again, if you want to see the toolbar again, or the sidebar, instead of pressing N, you can just come to the view section and then say sidebar. Okay, then you can see you have different sections. Okay, so basically that's the very simple terms, or the very simple terms we need to learn when navigating through Blender, which is G for grabbing and moving. Then you have S for scaling, and then A for selecting everything. Okay, another thing we should learn about before going to the next part is changing your scene properties. For example, I have my scene over here, and we want to set our unit system. It's metric in meters, so we can change whether you want centimeters, millimeters, or so on. So I guess that's self-explanatory. Okay, so what else do we need to learn when starting Blender? So right now we have learned about moving, scaling, and now we have learned about changing the units. Adding sections adding objects on your Blender scene, just use Shift A, Then you can see you can either add a cube. If you want to add maybe a sphere, come just to mesh. Maybe let's add a torus. And then you can see other torus. It's okay. So another thing you have to learn is about this snapping section. This section over here is for snapping, and then you can select what you want to snap. For example, I can snap to the vertices, or the edges, or the faces. Also, you can snap on the edge centers and so on. So you can toggle it off or on. Okay. So I guess that's right about now. Before now we dive deeper into what we can do with Bonsai B. So and right now, before now we move to the next project, or we go to the Bonsai beam. We are first modeling a very simple house in Blender using just Blender without the IFC properties or BIM coordination. So what we will do is first import a very simple, or just let us just do a very simple house. And say for example, I have a, let's first go to the top view. We say that's part 7. So we do a very small house of 6 meters by 6 meters. So we can add a plane. Let me come and say it's 6 meters by 6 meters. Is it okay? And then after that we can go to the edit mode. Now you can see here you have 3 selection points. So you have first to select the vertices, the second is used for selecting edges, and the third for selecting faces. So you can select the edges, and then so if you want to select everything on an object, you can just press L, and then you can do extrude to the Z axis. You can extrude Z and 3, which means it's 3 meters, which is the normal height of a building. Then you have doors and windows. So for example, I can just add a loop cut, which we add by saying Ctrl R. And notice this is not parametric, so you're not working on parametric dimensions. So just adding things randomly. So you can say maybe that's our door. You can select the face, X, delete faces. We delete something or an object we have selected using X on Blender. So another thing we have to add, for example, let's say you want to add windows. I can just add a loop cut. Let's say I want 2 windows on this side. Let's say I want a window over there. And then these are my windows, maybe X faces. Also, we can say the other side you have the windows, also X faces. Also, let's say maybe on this side you have another back door sheet, and then you can add faces. Is it okay? So let's say here you have a roof, so we can select other faces on the outside, and then press P, and then select by selection. So what we're doing by selecting P is just separating the house from the other section. So for example, you want to separate some faces from the house, so we can hide this one by pressing H, and then you can see now you have a very raw house. Is it okay? Now we can now go to the edit mode. For example, let's say you want several rooms For example, let's say you want this one to be our kitchen, so we can maybe turn snap on and snap it over there. Want that to be our kitchen. And then now you can see you have a door entrance, a small kitchen. Maybe let's say this was our living room, and now you want a very another simple house. So for example, let's say you have this one, and then you can say EZ, then EZ again, put this on top there. So we can control, let's say for example I want it to be here. I can just red, then move to skip on the net. So we do a cut over here. So for example, I want it to be over there, enter, then I can say Control D. So let's say these are another opening, can X spaces. Then now you can see now I have another small room over there. Maybe you want this place to be open, and then I just to go back to my objects mode. Now again you add this modifier now to make sure the ones are to normal. It's for example, let's say I'll come here and select face orientation. This shows you the direction of which. If I do the solidify modifier, for example, now you can see a red. If I want to solidify this section, it will solidify toward the red direction. So let's go to the edged mode and now select some of these, and then you can just say out and then flip, and now you can see and it's on this side. Then now we can switch off the face orientation. Then after now we do that, to come to the modifiers, add a solidify modifier. Then now I can say I want it to be 02. So let's just go with that for now. I think that's okay. Okay, then now we can go to art heights. Then you can now edit mode, add, and now you can just come and list of the faces. I have a plugin for adding something like a roof, and now you can say house as a roof. Then I'll come to this section, maybe push the roof a bit higher. Let's see what that. So now you see you have a very basic house. And then now on the second tutorial we learn how to put some doors and some windows on this section. Now first save your project. I think we'll meet on the next tutorial and learn how to add the windows and the doors.